Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. Can everyone hear me down the back? Put up your hand if you can hear me down the back. Yep, all good? Excellent. So my name's Christine Oakley and I lead business strategy in the planning group of the Victorian Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning. I've titled my presentation today, Planting the Seeds for Innovation, which is, I think, quite apt given we were just talking about how we do actually plant those seeds and nurture things. It's also a bit of an ironic title because for the first 35 years of life, I never actually had much luck in the garden, despite coming from a family of green thumbs from a way back. I was actually your typical black thumb. Plants came to my garden to die. My mum used to hopefully bring me round these big trays full of pots and seedlings and every type of plant that she'd lovingly reared. I'd plant them in my back garden and promptly forget about them. You see, I wasn't engaged or invested. I saw gardening as a good way to waste a perfectly good afternoon. I was also overwhelmed by the scale of the task. Mum's passion translated into way too many plants for me to look after. I also didn't know anything about gardening. I invariably planted the plants in the wrong spots. The ones that needed shade ended up in the sun and vice versa. The plants were in my backyard, and it was somewhere that I rarely went, so they weren't visible. And because the plants rapidly wilted and died under my neglect, I wasn't seeing results. And then one day something changed. One of my friends became passionately engaged in gardening. At first I thought she'd been lured over to the dark side or into some sort of cult or possessed. She waxed lyrical about the amazing meals she was cooking with the vegetables she had grown. As a passionate foodie, I listened with interest about what she'd been cooking. But sitting in her garden one summer day, I was amazed at how much she had achieved in a short time and all grown in pots. She had zucchinis galore, she had tomatoes that actually tasted like tomato, and she had herbs that didn't come in a little plastic pack from the supermarket. And so it got me curious. And I started thinking that maybe I too could grow great produce to cook with. So I started out small. I bought some pots and some soil. I knew that if I didn't see the plants, I would neglect them, so I arranged the pots in my front courtyard. I got clear for myself about what was actually necessary for success. Pots also meant that I could move the plants around to where they would thrive, so I built in flexibility. Some seedlings didn't thrive, but I learnt from the process and adapted my approach. I learnt to make sure the plants I picked were designated as quick and easy to grow, so I would have some early wins as encouragement. I also made sure I was growing seedlings of my most favourite vegetables and herbs, things that I really wanted to cook with. I made the effort that I was making matter. I also used my brain's trust. Mum almost fell off her seat the first time I started asking her about soil and fertiliser. And my friend was pleased to share what she had learnt now that I too had joined the gardening cult. So why am I talking about gardening at an innovation summit? Because I actually think there's a lot of commonality between the lessons I learnt as I started to garden and the approach we need to take to actually grow a culture of collaboration and innovation in our organisations. So today I want to share with you a case study of how we sought to grow collaboration for innovation within the planning group of the Victorian Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning. A bit of context to start. Our department's made up of around 3,000 people. The planning group, which I'm part of, accounts for around 300 of those people, and it's responsible for a whole range of functions around development of spatial planning and policy for Victoria's cities and regions, advising and supporting business and industry innovation and economic development, facilitating and coordinating government land use and supporting users of the planning system, connecting and balancing a whole range of different social, economic and environment policies, operating and transforming the planning, building and heritage systems, and also building community and industry land use capability. Many of us are urban planners, but we also have GIS professionals, heritage experts, environmental specialists, communication and engagement practitioners, economists, and many more professions. It's a pretty diverse bunch of people. So who's felt a bit like that before? It's a pretty common feeling, and certainly was the case in our department. We had lots of projects underway, lots of busyness, lots of people exclaiming, "I'm too busy, I can't engage with that." Like many big organisations, there were silos between teams and work groups. Information wasn't readily shared. There was a fair bit of reinventing the wheel. There are also lots of ideas floating around about what needed to be improved, but little traction for these. And a tendency to think that making improvements was someone else's job. I'm sure many of those elements are familiar to many of you in this room. There was also talk about the need to be more innovative, to work together more, to do things differently. But it was a bit like my mum's attempts to get me gardening. People weren't really invested in making a change. People saw the task as overwhelming. People didn't know what changes to make, so indecision froze action. What little action there wasn't readily visible. And many of those similar issues came out in the quiz that we just completed. Questions of organisational culture and mindset, lack of follow-through, lack of time. And so, like my garden, what little was attempted tended to die off. Now, it would have been easy at this point to give up and figure that things would never change and therefore there was no point doing anything. But in my gut, I felt it was possible for us to be more innovative and to work together differently. Around that time, I also started doing in-house facilitation of workshops. People were commenting on how valuable it was to have someone from outside the project or the process to actually facilitate the discussion, to bring new techniques to the table and to draw out different contributions than would be possible in a traditional meeting setting. So these experiences with facilitation got me curious about the opportunity to skill up more people in-house that could facilitate, to help people collaborate and innovate. And so it was fortunate that around this time, a colleague introduced me to Ellen Ryan and Peter Barnett from Hargreaves Institute. Hargreaves Institute brought a wealth of experience in how to actually build organisational capability and capacity around innovation. And importantly, they had a real willingness to tailor something that would work with our particular organisation and those particular organisational settings. When people think about innovation, they often think about a lone genius, a light bulb moment, a brilliant idea that materialises and changes the world. But good ideas can come from anywhere, and innovations that make a difference often come about through the contribution of many. The challenge and the opportunity is to create the space and the culture within which this can readily occur. And so rather than just focusing on innovation, our starting point was actually on collaboration. So instead of asking, how can we be more innovative, we asked ourselves, how can we support collaboration across a group of 300 people? How can we get people working with people outside their immediate teams? What tools do we need to support people to work together and hopefully avoid people seeing collaboration as akin to fraternising with the enemy? When we looked across our group, and this is common to many organisations, it was clear that collaboration didn't come naturally. People would excitedly grasp a new task, burrow down into it, and then pop their head up with their solution, wondering why others struggled to get on board. I'm sure this is again familiar to many of you as you look around your organisations. So we knew we needed to find a way to expose people to a different way of working and problem solving. And with the workforce of 300, we needed to find a way to start small but reach out to everyone. So we developed, in partnership with Hargreaves Institute, a program to skill up 20 collaboration and innovation facilitators across the planning group. The idea was to skill up a group of people in how to facilitate collaboration and innovation, the people that could actually be our agents of change. We put out the call for nominations across the entire group. We wanted to get a broad cross-section of people at different levels from all different parts of our organisation. Our 20 facilitators then undertook over 700 hours of training and practice in collaboration and innovation. earning their L plates supported by Hargreaves. This included tools to be a great facilitator, ways to bring out the best of different groups, understanding what it is necessary to actually make collaboration and innovation happen, and importantly, lots of practice at facilitation and use of the tools that they were learning. It was clear, however, that if we wanted to make a change across our group of 300 people, then we would need to engage the hearts and minds of staff in identifying the changes that would really make a difference to them and make a difference to those we work with, to shift the focus to being on the business, transcending individual projects and teams. So we proceeded to organise a full-day all-staff forum at the hallowed Melbourne Cricket Ground with Andrew Rickson from Babelfish as our facilitator for the day using open space technology. For those that haven't come across open space technology, it's actually very low tech but high impact. It's an event format that can be used for groups from 5 people to over 2,000, so it's pretty versatile. It's an approach that's characterised by a few basic mechanisms. A broad, open invitation which articulates the purpose of the forum, in our case, moving to smarter ways of delivering value for our customers and the community. It operates based on 2 principles and 1 law. The first principle, when it starts is the right time, when it's over, it's over. The second principle, whoever comes are the right people. Whatever happens is all that could have and did. And finally, the law that it operates on is called the law of 2 feet. If at any time during our time together you find yourself in a situation where you are neither learning nor contributing, use your 2 feet and go someplace else. I think it's a really fantastic law for life in general. As you can see from the photos from our forum, participants' chairs are arranged in a large circle, and it's important to have plenty of breakout spaces. Our participants then created a bulletin board of issues and opportunities which they shared with the group and posted on the wall. Participants then chose which discussions they wanted to take part in from the marketplace, moving freely between discussions, learning and contributing as they shopped for information and ideas. What resulted was a breathing or pulsating pattern of flow between plenary and small group breakout sessions. After a day of discussions, we had a portfolio of over 15 cross-planning projects focused on moving to smarter ways of delivering value for our customers and the community. Each project had a self-nominated project champion and a self-nominated cross-group multidisciplinary project team to take it forward. And importantly, we provided each team with a dedicated collaboration and innovation facilitator to support their work. This served 2 purposes. It gave our facilitators an immediate, endorsed role in projects focused on building collaboration and innovation. It also gave teams an immediate, skilled resource to help them work in different ways. It was a great way to bring together collaboration and innovation, and a great way to kickstart a shift in culture. We quickly discovered the importance of having clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Simply using terms like project champion, facilitator, team member or sponsor is not enough. You need to get specific about what each role is responsible for and how each role relates to others. Our facilitators were integral in working through this and creating a document that provided clarity to everyone. While we invested in getting clear about everyone's roles, we also built in flexibility. Our collaboration and innovation facilitators had a toolkit at their disposal. They could tailor the tools to what would most benefit a particular group at a particular point in time. They also had the opportunity to practice the tools in a safe environment with their facilitator colleagues, giving them the confidence to use the tools when they needed to. A particularly useful tool in our toolkit has been the Hargreaves 123 Innovate cards. Made up of a collection of 104 cards in 2 decks, one deck's designed for individual use and the other for teams. The card includes 3 suits: see, think and do. The front of the cards are great to use for things like image association and random selection, and the backs of the cards are very useful for prompting thought and discussion. For example, this is how one of our project teams, who was developing up a new approach to how we manage stakeholder information, used the cards to identify next steps in terms of seeking feedback, learning from history, looking beyond the team, prioritising, and recognising and rewarding contributions. Our facilitators also had a really important tool at their disposal to help teams learn and adapt their work over time. The tool is called the Project and Team Health Check. It's a tool that our collaboration and innovation facilitators adapted from a health monitor that has been used successfully by software firm Atlasian. Here's what Atlasian had to say about the health monitor that they developed. I'll just let you briefly read that. We thought it sounded like something that we could use, and so we took the Atlasian Health Monitor and adapted it to our own environment. The Atlasian Health Monitor and our health check is structured around a number of checkpoints where the team collectively reflects on a series of questions. I'll now just quickly run through each of the checkpoints because they're quite useful as you think about how you actually keep your projects and your teams healthy so that you can actually then focus on the change that you're wanting to affect. So our first checkpoint is people on board, and the types of things we ask ourselves there is, do we actually have a project champion who's driving the project? Does our project team have a shared understanding of the project? Do we have all the people, resources and time we need based on reasonable estimates? The second checkpoint is all about collaboration and innovation. So here we're making sure that we're actually using collaborative and innovative practices. Also that we're making use of the resources we have in the form of our facilitators. The third checkpoint is all about engagement. At this checkpoint we ask, who has the final say on big decisions impacting the outcome of the project, and have we got them engaged? Who needs to be consulted for feedback along the way? Is there feedback, input or approval? The fourth checkpoint is visibility and communications. So here we're asking ourselves, are the people and projects we impact informed about what we're doing and the value of it and why? Can we explain our project in a few minutes? If we explained it to our partner or our kids, would they understand? Our fifth checkpoint is value and metrics. At this checkpoint, we ask, what value is our project providing? Do we understand our metrics and do we understand our targets? Our sixth checkpoint is velocity. And at this checkpoint, we really need to understand, are we making tangible, traceable progress, or are we spinning our wheels? Are we clear on our risks and how we're actually mitigating them? And have we celebrated our incremental wins as a team? It's a pretty simple tool. All you need to do is draw up a grid, distribute some green, orange and red or pink post-it notes, and then work through each checkpoint one by one. Thinking about the answers to the questions, each person assigns a green, orange or red post-it note to the grid. Green signifies that people are comfortable with where the project and the team is up to in terms of the checkpoint. Orange can signify that there's some issues that need to be worked through, and then red signifies major issues with the checkpoint. Each person also explains the reason for their selection of post-it note. This is where the real value of the tool comes, in surfacing issues in a non-hierarchical manner. The group then discusses the issues that have been surfaced and identifies actions that they can prioritise and allocates those actions amongst the team. It's been fantastic to see how widely the health check has been used across not just the planning group, but now adapted and picked up by other groups across the department. It shows how something really quite simple can actually be really powerful in creating the conversations that otherwise might not happen. And these are the types of conversations that we need if we are actually going to be successful at innovating our business. We also recognised that if we wanted to keep people from across our group engaged in new ways of working, then we would need to plan for early wins on what matters to people. And so some 100 days after our open space forum, we brought together the planning group for a showcase event. Our project teams presented on where they'd got up to on their projects, and our facilitators shared different tools and techniques that they'd used to support teams to collaborate and innovate. It was amazing how much creative effort the teams actually put into this event, as well as our facilitators. We even had Elvis take to the stage with a rendition of Return to Sender from the team that was working on a stakeholder contacts database. Another powerful tool that our collaboration facilitators have used has been collaborative circles. I'd now like to share a short video that we put together with two of our facilitators, Sonia and Ash, talking about collaborative circles.
Start with a refresher on what it means to collaborate. Then Ash will talk about how to set up a collaborative circle, and then we'll finish with an example each of what we value about being in a collaborative circle. Collaboration is a key attribute of teams in a new way of working. So the myth of the lone creative genius is replaced with the reality of the enthusiastic interdisciplinary collaborator. And so in a team, collaborative behaviours include engendering trust, being willing to share, having an outward focus, building on ideas, connecting with others, and seeking external input. And as part of this, the skills developed include working with a range of people, using their voice, building relationships, listening, and giving feedback.
I'm going to talk about what it's like to set up a collaborative circle. Generally, a collaborative circle is a small group of individuals, generally 5 to 7 people, that meet regularly to work towards a common goal and to build relationships that can help them meet that goal. After the initial icebreaker meeting, groups meet to discuss their individual projects and to share roadblocks or challenges that they may be facing. It's a good idea to appoint a facilitator or lead so that the conversation can be focused. Facilitators should also send out an agenda prior to the collaboration meeting and can rotate from meeting to meeting. It's important to have a goal for the meeting so that the group knows what it wants to achieve. The facilitator may need to intervene if the conversation does stall with techniques such as the health check or picture cards to get the conversation back on track and get those creative issues as well.
Ash and I are now going to talk about one thing we each value about being in a collaborative circle. One of the things I recognise about being in the first aid collaborative circle is to do with the different rates of progress of our project teams. And for instance, Linda Lewis provided me with a running sheet for her workshop on the short spots project, which has proved very valuable in how to set up a workshop in terms of role allocation, techniques and time allocation. And that's proved most useful. And the other thing I really value about the collaborative circle is just the great people I've got to know and work with that sort of things dealt with.
For me, the collaborative circle has been most helpful in overcoming some initial roadblocks. Discussing the issue in a confidential setting allowed me to hear suggestions from others in the group regarding how they would move forward. It was really helpful in keeping the project momentum going.
So it's been amazing how something that started from a little bit of curiosity has actually managed to deliver real change in the way that our planning group works. People who had never worked together before got to know each other. People got exposed to new tools for collaborating and engaging in different ways. Ownership was taken for advancing projects that people felt were important. It moved away from a why doesn't someone else fix this to let's fix this together. A number of groups across the department have identified the value in building collaborative capacity to drive innovation and change, with their own initiatives now to skill up even more facilitators. And we're also in the process of setting up a community of practice across our department to keep growing this fantastic collaborative and innovative capacity and energy. The benefits are significant, as the survey that we took part in showed. It improves culture, it improves processes, it delivers cost savings and efficiency. So the advice that I'd like to leave you with today, as you think about how you can make your teams, your divisions, your groups, your organisations more innovative, is to think about how you can grow collaborative capacity and capability. Our experience is that growing a culture of collaboration is the necessary precursor to effective and sustained innovation. And so, just as I learnt through both my gardening efforts and collaboration adventures, my advice today to you is to be passionately curious. Look around your organisation for opportunity. for seeds for collaboration. Ask questions, lots of questions, and challenge the assumption that change isn't possible. Start small with the scope to scale up. Don't let budget-constrained environments that many of us work in get in the way of you making change. Start small, pilot your ideas, but also keep the bigger picture in mind. Be ready to scale up when the time's right. Work out what is necessary for success. Don't be like me and put your most thriving seedlings in the back garden and forget about them. Work out where the fertile ground is in your organisations and seed your ideas there. Also make sure that you build in flexibility. Different people and different environments require different approaches. One size fits all is not the way to go. Learn from what doesn't work and adapt. You won't, if you're like me, get everything 100% right from the start, so make sure you build in the scope to adapt, often for even better outcomes. Plan for early wins on what matters. You need to engage the hearts and minds of your organisation in identifying those innovations that will really mean something, those high-value changes, and then work out ways to make the changes happen and make sure it's actually visible to those people. And finally, cultivate a brains trust. Find those people inside and outside your organisations that can inspire, encourage and challenge you. And again, ask lots of questions and use your brains trust to refine your ideas. Collaboration really does start with you. I'd like to leave you with a quote that really resonates for me. Yes, collaboration feels good, but it also helps us transcend our limits and create something truly greater than ourselves. Thank you for the opportunity today and to speak today, and thank you very much to Dr. Abby Robinson for making today happen, and also to Ellen Ryan from Hargreaves Institute for his sage advice, his energy and his passion. Thank you very much.